Your brain lied to you. Not once, not occasionally. Every single time you smell cut grass in summer, or hear a song from a movie you watched at age 11, or catch a glimpse of a cereal box you haven't thought about in 30 years, your brain pulls you backwards so fast it almost feels physical, like something yanked a string attached to your chest. And you probably figured that was just about the past, that you missed the stuff, the toys, the shows, the snacks, whatever. That's not what's happening. My name's Frank. I've been watching you for a while. And what I'm about to show you is something most people never stop to actually look at, because looking at it means admitting something about right now, not about back then. Stay with me. This one goes somewhere. Here's a number that should get your attention. In 2025, researchers looked at a Reddit thread where someone simply asked, "What do you miss from the era before smartphones?" The post got 14,000 upvotes and over 15,000 comments. 15,000 on one question from people who don't usually have a lot to say about their feelings. And the answer that kept coming up, again and again, more than any toy, any show, any decade-specific thing, was this: the freedom of your parents not being able to reach you. Not the cartoons, not the candy, not even the music, the unreachability. Think about that for a second, because that's a strange thing to miss. You weren't hiding from your parents, you just went outside. And for a few hours, nobody knew where you were, nobody could call you, nobody needed anything from you. You existed in a little pocket of the world that was entirely yours. That is not a small thing. That is actually a very big thing, and we'll come back to why. There's a concept in psychology called the reminiscence bump. It sounds like something from a bad quiz show, but it's one of the most consistent findings in memory research. Here's what it means. Once you cross 40, your brain starts flooding. Memories from when you were roughly 10 to 30 come back more often, feel more vivid, and carry more weight than memories from your 30s or even last week. Scientists have confirmed this across dozens of studies. It's not selective remembering. It's not you being dramatic. Your brain, at this exact age, is biologically wired to pull up that era more than any other. And here's where it gets interesting. The thing scientists figured out is that this period, your childhood, your teen years, is when your brain was building your identity, who you were, what you cared about, what made you you. Those years got burned into your memory differently. More detail, more color, more feeling. So when you're in your 40s or 50s and suddenly remember the exact sound of your bike chain or the specific feeling of a Saturday morning with nowhere to be, that's not random. Your brain stored those years with extra care, and now it's bringing them back. The question is, why now? Because something triggered it, and the trigger is almost never happiness. Research published in 2025 put it plainly. Nostalgia is not triggered by joy. It's triggered by loneliness, stress, boredom, and the feeling that your life has lost its meaning. Your brain doesn't reach for the past because things are good. It reaches for the past because something in the present is missing. So every time you get that hit of, "I miss being a kid," what you're actually getting is a notification, a little ping from your own head. Something right now isn't working. And for a generation that grew up in the 70s and 80s, hitting midlife right now, in this specific decade, there are a lot of things not working. Here's where it gets real. In 2024, a study of 1,000 Americans between 35 and 60, which is basically you, found something that probably sounds very familiar. 71% of people in that age range are currently taking care of both their own kids and their aging parents at the same time. Not one or the other, both, while also working, often full-time. And on top of that, 63% of them are living paycheck to paycheck as a direct result. There's even a name for it. Psychologists call it the sandwich generation. You are the meat in the middle, pressed from both sides, no room to breathe. Your parents need you, your kids need you, your job needs you, and somewhere in that pile, there is supposed to be a version of you that exists just for yourself, but you haven't seen that person in a while, have you? And here's the part nobody tells you. That's exactly the moment your brain decides to show you home movies from 1983. Because that kid, the one on the bike with the scraped knees and zero responsibilities, had something you don't have right now: time that belonged to no one. Now, let's be specific, because this is the part that actually hits people. When Gen Xers get together and start talking about their childhoods on Reddit and comment sections and conversations that go way longer than expected, it's almost never about things. Nobody is weeping for a particular toy. What comes up over and over is feeling. The feeling of being bored and that being okay. Not a problem to solve, not something to cure with a phone, just boredom. Sitting on the porch with nothing to do, and then slowly making something up to do. A 2018 survey found that today's kids spend 35% less time playing outside freely than their parents did. And the reason isn't just screens, it's that nobody is allowed to be bored anymore. Every hour is scheduled, every moment has a purpose, every kid has a device. But boredom is where imagination lives. Boredom is what made you invent games out of nothing, build forts that fell apart, have conversations with people in your neighborhood that you'd never have if you had something better to do. You miss boredom. That's the honest thing. You also miss the feeling of being small in a neighborhood that felt large, when riding to the end of the street was an adventure, when the world had not yet told you how big it actually was and all the ways it could grind you down. Psychology professor Christine Baccio at Lemoyne College, who has been studying nostalgia for decades, said something that landed hard when I found it. She said that in childhood, we were loved simply for who we were, not for what we accomplished, not for how much we produced, just for existing. You were not behind, you were not failing, you were just a kid, and that was enough. That's the thing you can't buy back. Here's something worth understanding. The smell of old plastic, the weight of a cassette tape, the sound of a TV turning off, these things do something to you that's different from seeing a photo. Smell, in particular, connects directly to the memory centers of the brain in a way nothing else does. Researchers studying the reminiscence bump found that odor-triggered memories go even further back than word-triggered ones, all the way into early childhood, which means the smell of sunscreen or a particular brand of soap, or even the inside of a station wagon, that's not just sentiment. That's your brain working exactly as designed. It built a very strong anchor to that era, and certain smells and sounds are pulling on it. This is why you're not weak for getting ambushed by a jingle from an old commercial. Your brain is doing precisely what it was built to do. The question is what you do with it. On Reddit's r Gen X community, someone asked, what's something you can bring up right now to unlock some childhood nostalgia for the rest of us? Thousands of answers came back. Scented erasers, the warm, fuzzy static from a TV that had been on for a while, waking up early on Saturday before anyone else in the house and having the TV all to yourself, calling the radio station to request a song, and then sitting with a cassette recorder in your hand, waiting, finger over the record button for them to play it. None of those things cost anything. None of them required anything. They were just small, quiet moments where time moved slowly, and you were completely present, and nobody needed you for anything. Now here is the part of the story that genuinely stings, and it's worth looking at directly. Gen X had the most unsupervised, free-range childhood of any living generation. You went out after breakfast and came back when the streetlights came on. Nobody tracked you, nobody scheduled you, nobody hovered. And then you grew up and became the most protective helicopter-style parents in modern history. Studies confirm what you probably already know if you're a parent. Gen X is the generation that GPS tracks their kids, schedules every hour, scrutinizes every friend group, and won't let a teenager walk to school alone. The same generation that took the bus alone at 10. Why? Because you remember the loneliness, the hours nobody knew where you were, and the flip side of that, nobody cared enough to ask. The independence was real, but so was the feeling of being on your own in a way that sometimes wasn't fun. It was just how it was. So, you gave your kids safety, structure, and attention, the things you sometimes wanted and didn't get. And that is genuinely good. It came from love. But there's a twist nobody is comfortable saying out loud. The freedom you gave up, the quiet, purposeless hours, the right to be bored, the feeling of owning your own afternoon, that's the exact thing you now miss the most, and your kids will never know what it felt like. You took that freedom from yourself and you passed the loss on to the next generation in a different form. So let's say all of this clearly. You miss your childhood. Not just the stuff, not just the decade, but a specific way of existing, where time was yours, where you weren't needed by anyone, where being bored was allowed, where nobody expected anything. And your brain started showing you those memories more often when your present life got heavy, when the sandwich got tighter, when the paycheck stopped stretching, when every waking hour became somebody else's to claim. The nostalgia isn't pulling you backward, it's telling you something about right now. Research is clear on this. Nostalgia is the brain's way of saying, you have been here before. You have felt at peace before. You have existed without all of this pressure before. And that means it's possible. Not back then, but in some form now. The memories of your childhood aren't just memories. They're a list of what your actual self needs to function. Quiet time, unscheduled hours, something you built for no reason, a conversation with someone who just happens to be nearby, a song that matters to no one but you. None of that is childish. None of that is running away from adult life. It's just the evidence your own brain has been collecting since you were 10 years old about what makes you a person, not just a function. Here is the thing about Gen X that nobody puts on a banner. You grew up in a world that didn't make a big fuss over you. Your parents weren't wrong for that. They were busy. The world was busy. That was just the shape of things. And you learned to be fine without much ceremony. You got very good at moving through life without needing a lot from it. The problem with getting that good at something is that you stop asking, you stop expecting anything for yourself. You become very efficient at keeping everything running for everyone else, and you forget that you had needs at all. Until one afternoon, a song comes on, or you catch a smell from somewhere, and for about 4 seconds, you are 11 years old again, and nothing is on fire, and nobody needs anything, and the whole afternoon is yours. That 4 seconds, that's not sadness. That's your brain showing you the blueprint, the original instructions for who you were supposed to be before life started handing you other people's problems. You don't need to go back. You just need to remember what the blueprint says. Do you miss your childhood? Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, gently tap the like and subscribe button below and check out this video next. See you there.